Welcome back to the OATI Energy Conference 2024 in Las Vegas. I'm John Engel, Editor-in-Chief of Distributech and Power Grid International. I'm joined by Sasan Mokhtari, CEO and President of OATI. Sasan, it's great to see you, and thank you so much for having us here. It's been truly amazing to hear you and your teams engage with your customers, and the comments that we heard today from the CEO of SPP, Barbara Suggs, about the multi-decade relationship that you have built with her and with SPP. That's clearly really important to the fabric of OATI. How did that begin, and that obsession over the customer? How have you gotten that to really permeate throughout the group?
John, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you guys for coming. It really means a lot. Good question. Good question you're asking. It all goes back to the inception of OATI. I used to work for a major vendor, well-known, great company to work for. And I felt at the time that the interaction between customers and the vendors sometimes was not very friendly, and it wasn't built based on mutual, respect and all of that. So when I started the company, I really thought, well, I want to have a very positive and not adversarial relationship. So I built it based on the fact that I consider OATI an extension of the customer's IT. And I tell my customers, anytime I see them, I want you to look at us as an extension of IT, and we are here to help you in way I can. So it really boils down to, we are here because of our customers. And, as long as we support them, we meet their needs and expectations, customers will support us. And they have done a fantastic job. Our relationship with our customers is, to me, is second to none. You have met some of these people here. They have been coming here year after year after year, and until they retire, many of them. And then whoever replaces them keeps coming. And we are blessed. And honestly, this industry is unique in terms of the customer loyalty. As long as you meet their expectation, their needs, they are there to support you.
That's an important word you used, loyalty. And the other one that comes to mind is trust. So unlike software companies that are consumer-facing or even B2B, but serve an industry that isn't regulated and isn't expected to obtain perfection, like the utility industry, your product cannot fail. Obviously, there are challenges with implementation and development that come along the way, but for the most part, you need to be as reliable as the grid needs to be reliable for customers. How important is that trust element with utilities and with grid operators when they come to you and they say, I have this need and I have this expectation to deliver on that for decades now? That's a high bar to clear.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. The name of the game is trust. And that trust comes with time. This is not something that you earn overnight. You have to build that trust. When I started OATI, I was told, well, it's not going to work. This particular breed of customers don't like to do their IT outside their shop. They don't like their data, their information to be out, which was a big deal. Today, people talk about cloud computing, and some people host their systems at public clouds. Even in utility business, not everybody does it, but some do. 30 years ago, that was not the case. And when we started that, it was unheard of that you host some of these services, and some, are reliability-related services like IDC, and some financial type of services like with trading systems, just vital financial information. Having it hosted in somebody else's computer and trust them with your data is really a major task. But we had to build the trust over time. We never violated or endangered that trust, and it's a word of mouth, So yeah, you're right. It's a trust issue.
I think about that with OATI's journey and getting to know your teams over the last few years. I think I've learned more about that story with time. And in this space, energy and utilities, and especially now climate, you do see a lot of companies that rush toward the attention and try to use messaging to maybe cover up gaps on the technical side. What I've learned about you guys is that you spent multiple decades basically under the radar with that word of mouth and are now getting into a new stage where, we have the proof. We've demonstrated this with real customers deploying products. And we now have a story that we're ready to tell instead of the inverse, which seems to be so common in this space. And what comes with that then is we talked about trust, but it's also accountability. And this is where it gets into more of the technical conversation. But you and OATI have really leaned into this concept of enterprise DERMS and the value of having a single accountable asset to funnel everything toward instead of messing with 5, 6 different vendors. And this single pane of glass statement comes up with you guys a lot. Why do you see that as being so critical? And I'm sure that came from iterating and customer conversations. Where's the value there? Why is that so important for this industry to think about?
Thank you. I really appreciate the question. This is a really important item. In the last few years, my observation has been that there's a lot of money has been infused into this business. Some of it, federally funded, some of it, private funding. And there are all kinds of opportunities, no questions about it. And, this is good. There's nothing wrong with it because that creates innovation and we need it, believe me. These changes are very difficult and it's a major transformation. We need all the brain we can get in the country and thank God we have lots of them. But motivations are different. Many of these boutique type companies, they are driven by VCs and, they expect quick return. And that's what this is. And if they don't see that quick returns, they fold them up. So that's a big problem with some of these companies that we have seen. Some have been very successful and some not so successful. But the issue is, from technical point of view, is that these are done in isolation. These are done without knowledge of how the power grid really works. This is, of course, this is a very challenging computer science exercise here. No questions about it. You heard many speakers talk about the size of the data, the difficulty of orchestration, coordination. It is an information system. So it has a very significant element of computer science. But equally as important is power system side of it, because it comes back to operations, how you operate a power grid, which is electrically very complicated. It's not, a simple system. So if you don't have the knowledge of the electrical engineering side of it, how the power grid operates, and this is not something, it's not a book knowledge I'm talking about. I'm talking about practical experience. It will not work. It will not work. So you will need a vehicle. Yes, these grid edge DERMS are good. No questions about this. Some of them are good. But if you don't have a delivery mechanism to bring it up into the grid,
what are you going to do with
grid operations? Yeah. And yes, we use it to manage the grid, provide the grid services that you need for reliable operation. Then what good is it? And that's where they're stuck with. This delivery mechanism, might as well look at it as a truck. You have a good carb, good load, but you don't have no way to deliver it to your customer. Which in this case, the customer of edge, DERMS are the utilities. They use it to manage the grid. Then what good is it? And they get stuck. So grid enterprise DERMS is intended to provide that glue, right? That brings them all together. If there are edge DERMS that they are truly viable and good, they get integrated into this, right? But it provides all the interfaces. It provides the necessary data for validation, for orchestration, and that's it. That's the role of it.
you've said this a couple of times in the past, but OATI has avoided the M&A front almost altogether. You haven't looked to gobble up those smaller boutique, in your word, firms, which we do see quite a bit on the grid software DERMS side, is that if you can do thermostats really well, you might get gobbled up by GE. Or if you can do EV charging really well, maybe Schneider will buy you. And that's an approach that consolidation can be effective for some firms. You have chosen not to do that with OATI and instead built it out on a single platform and had that iteration and modularity in building the product into more of an enterprise suite. Why that approach over, those guys did it well, let's just buy them?
Yeah. Again, you're asking a good question that has come to our mind many times. They have been asked by many people over the years, and I have resisted it and I said no. And the reason to me is simple. We have developed certain culture at OATI, and to me, there's a certain mission we have, which is really help our customers. I mean, I'm sure you have seen it here. Our relationship with our customers is very, very good. They trust us, right? And they know we're here for the long haul. They know that. It's not an endeavor that, fast money making and go out. I was just talking to another colleague who is considering retirement. And, I asked him, do you have any other hobby? He said, yeah, I can do this and this. And I said, I wish I could say the same. This is my hobby, and many people who work with me, they feel the same way. They love what they do. They enjoy it. And, they feel they're contributing. And we have a very loyal, good customer base. And frankly speaking, we're doing very well. I don't need somebody else's infusion of money. There's no rush to get out. There's no need to get out. And we don't need it. I mean, we are self-sustained, believe it or not. And we have been since day one at OATI. So we make good investments, which is money paid by customers. They are the one reason we have the lights on at OATI. And we get enough that we can invest back into the company through R&D and other things, and customers respond to it. So, the model has worked for us very well. Very well. And, there has been no need for it so far. And I don't see a need for it in the near future for any of it.
Last question as we round it out here. And we've only been at the OATI Energy Conference for like 10 hours. So acknowledging that we're kind of at the midway point, curious if, based on all of the conversations you've had with customers so far, has anything surprised you? Because I know you're probably learning with every single call, every single, reintroduction, and customers telling you, here's what we're dealing with. This industry has gone from simple, as you talked about in decades past, to lightning quick and so dynamic, and everything is changing around us. Has anyone said something to you over the course of the event so far that caught you off guard, that said, maybe I hadn't thought of it that way?
I got a lot of positive comments after my presentation. And it seems to me that the way I laid it out, I think that, hit the chord with some customers. They saw a bigger picture. Just before, we came here, you saw me, somebody grabbed me on the side. And this was a customer who, it's a first time to OATI. I've been a customer for 15 years, a major customer, and the first time coming here. And this gentleman was so excited. He said, I'm so glad to came here. I had no idea what you guys were up to. I'm happy to be here, and I learned a lot. And I intend to go back and let the rest of my colleagues, you just opened my eyes. And it just happened. So this was rather surprising to me that after being in business for this long and having a customer for 15 years, they didn't know what OATI is up to. And blame is on me and my team that not been able to communicate that properly to customers. So we see some of that. But again, honestly, the biggest thing that really surprised me about this customer base we have in utilities is how quickly they changed and they accepted the change. And they are, these are big changes. We are really, turning their life upside down. I mean, don't make a mistake about it. I mean, they have established process. They're doing a great job delivering. And, for reasons beyond their control, they are being told you have to turn your business model upside down. This is a big deal. And they are doing such a fantastic job, but honestly, they try to say how fast they can move. And I don't know any other group could have done this. This is a group utilities that don't known as traditional, not fast moving, but they are just showing the opposite. So I'm very excited about it and look forward to work with these customers and help them out any way we can.
It's a really good observation that there is that tone shift, that it doesn't seem to be a pump the brakes reluctance on change to now you're hearing utilities say, what can I do?
Exactly.
What can I do about it? Like, exactly. How do I address this in a holistic and strategic way? And it's clear that from getting to know you and your team, that you're just as invested with them and ensuring that they do that well. Sasan Mokhtari, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.